Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on Home Alone 3. Now, as you know, Home Alone 3 is a 1997 family comedy film that was instead directed by Roger Cornell, who also directed the two Scooby-Doo movies and the Smurfs ones. And keep in mind the film is meant to be a standalone sequel to Home Alone 2, as well as being the third film in the Home Alone film series. Now, originally the film was meant to have Fuller, who was going to be Home Alone, with Harry and Marv returning. I know Macaulay Culkin, as well as some of the original cast members, didn't really want to do another one, and I think Macaulay Culkin's made the right choice, because I think at this point, the point of the second one was meant to be an ending point to Kevin's storyline. And I think the third one works a bit more because it was just meant to follow a different kid home alone. So the premise of the film is meant to follow four wanted criminals who are tasked by a terrorist organization to steal a 10 million missile locking microchip as they hide it into a toy car and try to get it passed through security. But of course, due to a baggage mix-up, it ends up going to the elderly passenger, Miss Hess, who basically gives it to the young boy known as Alex. Now, Alex's character is just meant to be like this 8-year-old kid who's meant to kind of be almost like Kevin, but really not like the jerky kind of smart-ass persona, but more like that kid who has a heart of gold. And I think Alex's character isn't that bad. I think when you've got the actual actor, Alex Lintz, sort of voicing him, playing him, you do know he's this guy who wants to do the right things and does try to set things right. And I think it's interesting how when you do have the wanted criminals setting up shop in one of the houses and trying to get the microchip back, you can tell this is where Alex knows he has to kind of protect his house, and after some mishaps with some phone calls with the police, this is where we know he's going to try to take this as a personal matter of war to defend his house, as well as keep the microchip safe. And I think for the most part, I think some of the characters aren't that bad, because I think when you got Alex's two siblings, I think Molly's not that bad, but I just think Scarlett Johansson was just thrown there at the sidelines. And I think when you've got Seth Smith playing Stan, who's going to be the older brother of Alex, he just feels like a poor man's version of Buzz. Because, one, the point of Buzz in the original two Home Alone films was meant to sort of use things for his advantage, and was able to trick the family into apologising to him in the second film. And I think when you've got the elderly neighbour, Miss Hess, I think he's meant to be similar to Marley, as well as the pigeon lady in the first and second film, who's meant to start off as a bit of a grump, but later on does warm up a bit more to Alex. And I think I do give it credit that they do keep some things close to the original. And I think changing the premise after the last two films made perfect sense, because it's sort of implied that Christmas had been over at this point, so obviously the film is meant to take place sometime near January. And also you do kind of have, as well, something different than burglars. Basically you want to change the status quo and make it criminals instead, showing the criminals to be a bit more intelligent, as well as using things from their surroundings, which actually made sense. And I get it, the point of Home Alone 3 was meant to do something fresher, newer, and kind of changing things from the previous films. And looking back at the film, I can see where Roger Ebert really did want to defend the film. I think it's not that bad, because the point of changing the status quo is about showing people that you are at least doing something newer, fresher, and different. much like Halloween 3, and much like Book of Shadows Blair Witch Project 2. I think the film isn't that bad, and I think it's one of those films I think definitely needed a bit more respect, because it's doing something fresher, it's doing something newer, and something I think people put too much nostalgia on the other two films. I think Home Alone 3 is like a guilty pleasure. Even though some of the traps do copy a little bit from the second film, it's still got something fresher to tell. So I think this movie definitely deserves a thumbs up. It's still good, it's still alright, but I think a lot of people treat this film like the black sheep a bit too much. And I think it's one of those films I think definitely deserved a bit more better, because I think the point of Macaulay Culkin's getting older made sense. So it was meant to feature a different kid, a different premise, and I think it's something I think Home Alone 4 at least wanted to do, but put things back on the status quo, while Home Alone 5 and the other one try to do something fresher with the other two. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.